Maggie!
The stories are true. He's come back to seek his revenge. Only you can save your children. You must make yourself remember.
Remember what?
Peter, don't you know who you are?
Have to fly. Have to fight. Have to crow. Have to save Maggie. Have to save Jack. Okay, he's back. Who?
Let's fly!
Oh my God, where are we going?
To Never Never Land.
Where? I hate Peter Pan.
You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
All right, everybody, welcome. It's 91 Reasons, but you know that because you clicked on the button to play this episode. So we are sitting here. It's a Cafe 80s. I always like to set the scene. It's Tuesday night. The weather is very nice. There's a breeze blowing. We're getting down to the last few weeks where I can record out here, except at midnight because it'll be 1,000,000 degrees. But it's very nice. There's a breeze going.
Looks like it might rain, too.
It could rain. It doesn't rain a lot here in Southern California, but when it does, we get really excited. You know. So I'm sitting here with a couple of guys. We're hanging out. First off is one of my oldest and dearest friends. I've worked with this guy forever at Knott's Berry Farm. He is the sound guru who worked with me on The Hanging for a decade.
Many.
And we've moved on to other projects, but we'll always treasure those memories. Like time at a college. The Hanging is a college. That's right. He's all around music producer extraordinaire. Plays a mean guitar, right?
My guitar is very mean.
And
he yells at me.
And hangs out with a lot of cool bands like the Jelly of the Month Club that we filmed a video for a couple of summers ago. He's the guy, if you know me at all, he's the guy that when I talked about doing a show called Possessed at Knott's Berry Farm, Not Scary Farm, where we were going to use really high-tech stuff to do something that had never been done in-house, instead of saying, Jeff, no, he said, I'm going to make this happen. And without Rob Perez, there would have been no Possessed. Absolutely not even one shred would have made it on. Because originally, I don't know if you know this, originally I had pitched a show with live effects, like illuminated puppets. Instead of
that one I didn't know.
Yeah, but fortunately, technology caught up and we did it the way we did it. I'm dancing around the issue, obviously.
Right.
But that show proved that we could do a high-tech show in-house and that we could make it scary and make people uncomfortable. So, my first of two guests, please welcome Rob Perez.
Hey, why, thank you.
And we're also sitting, and this is your nephew.
This is my nephew.
You've known this guy his whole life.
My whole life. His whole life.
And I said, how long has Rob worked at Knott's? And he said, my whole life.
My whole life. I can't remember a time when Uncle Rob wasn't working at Knott's.
And you worked there for a couple of years.
I worked there for, little over 2 years.
Knott's Berry Farm is the great...
the melting pot.
The melting... I was going to say...
training grounds.
I was going to say the putter together, but melting pot's much more much nicer. Yeah. But you actually have a secret that people don't know when they do.
Well, some people don't know. Others know. And others know before I have the chance to make the secret known. Because I don't make the secret known, but people know.
This is Thomas Tulak, Rob Perez's nephew, but he stands on his own.
I try.
And you were in a really popular movie 27 6 years ago.
25
years ago.
The reason I know it's 25 is because it's been a big thing on Facebook lately that this is the 25th anniversary of the movie. So every single person who's ever seen my Facebook page decides to let me know.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, by the way, happy 25th anniversary of the movie.
And the movie is?
The movie is Hook.
You were a child actor in Hook.
Yes.
And I know what you're talking about, because anytime, like, any minuscule Back to the Future thing happens, I get it on my page all day.
Yes, yes. And everyone thinks they're the first person to tell you.
No, but that just means people don't go to your page.
Yep.
Ever. They just go, oh, I got to tag Jeff in this.
Yep,
and I'm like, and you know what? I'm always really like, because it just means they're thinking of me. I just go, oh, cool, thanks. Or I like anything to let them know, like, yes, I acknowledge that I've seen this. Thank you. There's a Back to the Future USB cigarette charger for your cell phone.
That just happened to me with the Johnny Depp video that I'm in for a millimeter.
That's
of
Rachel. Rachel's sitting here too.
People have put it on my timeline.
Yeah.
And like, did you know? Did you see? You're in there. I'm like,
there was this video that got posted. I don't even remember like who made it. It was made by one of those big media outlets for the 25th anniversary of Hook. Here's 5 things that you didn't know about the movie.
I watched that.
Right? So like a dozen people within 30 minutes posted it to my Facebook page. And I saw the title, 25 Things You Don't Know, and I watched the video, and I, of course, knew all of them. So I was in kind of a mood, and I left a comment. Kind of silly of you to assume that I don't know these things, because considering I was in it. Within a day, that comment had like 300 likes and 2 pages of replies from people going, "No way!"
Oh.
Now all of a sudden, like people are like that was of course followed with all these friend requests and subscribe to YouTube and all these things. And
that's got to be weird. 25 years after the fact.
Yeah.
So who did you play in the film?
I was the lost boy that spit out the candle and yelled "Goodnight, Neverland."
That's it.
And he had the final Lost Boy line in the movie, which was...
That was a great game. I almost misquoted myself.
There's some guy going, he didn't say the line right. I've seen that movie 100 times.
Yeah,
that's not really him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which that was another thing that I was tagged in a lot when Robin passed away. Not too long ago, there was a big meme that went around with a picture of him, and that line, "That was a great game," and of course that came out, and like everybody decided to tag me in that too. I knew that was happening. Yeah,
that's weird. Like I didn't really go into Robin Williams' death on the show. I'm waiting for it. You know, what'll happen is I review a lot of older movies, and I'm sure eventually I'll get to Good Morning Vietnam or Dead Poet Society, and
one of my favorite movies of all time.
I'll end up bawling like a baby talking about what Robin Williams meant. Obviously, as an improv performer, watching Robin Williams, some of his specials, the early ones, the later ones, he's scripted, but the early ones, you can tell he's high on cocaine and he's just riffing off the top of his head for like 90 minutes, and it's truly impressive.
Talk about impressive. There's one from, I think it was in the early 80s, where he's up there, and it might have been late 70s even, and he does an improv scene with suggestions from the audience in Shakespeare. He improvises Shakespeare.
Yeah, and he's brilliant at it.
And he's brilliant. Yeah. It's all about Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island, and he's doing it in Shakespeare. And it's amazing. You sit there going, wait, I don't even know if this is funny or impressive.
Right. It's interesting to go back and watch Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
Because you can, like, as a kid, you watch it, it was funny. He's a funny guy, and he's like a big kid. And then you watch it as an adult, like right now, and you go, he is high as a kite in every single scene.
Actually, you'll appreciate that. Well, you've seen this, I'm sure. I think it was Comedy Central who did the documentary "I'm from Hollywood." The Andy Kaufman one,
of course.
Where Robin Williams is talking about Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams talking about how out there Andy Kaufman is.
Wow.
That's...
Yeah. If Robin Williams says you're out there, you're out there.
There's some credibility going on there.
Yeah.
See, people are already guessing who's on the show. But they're doing it private because they're like, I didn't want to ruin your... Because on Facebook I said, Rob Perez is in the house tonight. He's bringing a special guest. And
are we live?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But I've been updating overnight.
You never know. We could be.
We have a guest tonight.
I've done a couple.
Someone guessed.
I've done a couple of live shows. They're a little weird because people are commenting while you're talking, and sometimes it breaks the rhythm because I get into a thing where I'm trying to get to a point, and someone's like ping ping ping, answer me, and like I'll get to you. Hold on, let me get this point across. Because when you're talking like I do, like you're going through these rivers and valleys, and you're trying to reach the big pond. I'm like, I'm going to get there if you just let me. But then other times you do it, and it's. To me, it's weird. I do those live shows to prove to people that I don't have notes. Because I did The Simpsons for like an hour, and people are throwing episodes, and I'm like doing dialogue and voices, and I'm like, no, look, I have nothing here with me. It's all off the cuff. So we'll bounce back and forth here. So I brought Rob on the show because, well, first, he's a good friend, and you've done episodes of The Season Pass.
Yes.
With Doug Barnes, which is where this show was birthed from, sort of. Yep. But Rob, every time I've gone on game shows, and every time like I've looked at going on a game show, like they had one called Beat the Geeks, where you put a team together. No, that was the Great American Trivia Challenge or something.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
They had a show where you put like it was like bowling. Like you put a team together and you were in a league, but it wasn't bowling, it was trivia. Right. And I thought the perfect trivia team, if I needed somebody to do music, it would be like Fine Rob Perez. Dun 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 dun. So like, because you know everything about music. If I was on Millionaire, and it was a music question, you're the phone a friend, right?
I've got a memory like a steel trap for the most trivial music things. Now, anything else, if you needed to...
See, I'm the movie guy like that. Exactly. Movies go in my head, and they never leave.
When's my birthday? You don't know.
I do. August...
Something. August. Okay.
But I do know the year.
I'll take that.
And what year was Aliens Ate My Buick released?
What was that? That had to be 87.
Yeah, see, he knows everything.
There you go.
He's doing it. See, he's doing it.
And most people are going, I've never seen that movie. Aliens Ate My Buick.
And he's saying it in a question so that we don't go, weirdo. Doo-doo.
However, just to vet Aliens Ate My Buick, we both know the drummer.
Yeah, I know. So it's in our...
It's a Thomas Dolby album.
It's in our circle.
For those not in the know.
It featured the single Airhead.
Airhead and there's a couple others on there.
So I'd be one of those people not in the know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Thomas Dolby, blinded me with science.
Blinded me with science. Well, now you're gonna get.
That's all right. If those get flagged, I'll take it as a compliment.
There you go.
YouTube is flagging your video for copyright. I'm like, really? Because it's just me singing.
Oh my gosh! Thomas Dolby's gonna come over and.
I have a story about that. I don't know if we can get to it now or later, but I got a story about that whole copyright thing.
Oh, I got sent to copyright school.
Oh yeah.
Phil Hendry sent me to copyright school because I put up a Phil Hendry recording from the radio, thinking, people will dig this because there's a lot of. I listen to mostly Howard Stern on YouTube, and no, the Hendry video was up for an hour, and I got flagged, copyright claim, and sent to. You had to watch a video and then answer questions to prove that you watched the video to get your account back.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it was a total hassle.
I didn't have quite that much of a hassle. It just what happened to me was just ludicrous. What happened? I posted. You saw this. I posted about this on Facebook. So back in I don't know, November last year, I took a bunch of the free loops that come on your Mac when you buy it, like the Apple library of free public domain loops, and I looped it together to make a trap, and I wrote some funny lyrics, and I rapped over it, and I made a music video. I put it up on YouTube. That was last November, 2015. Last month, like a few weeks ago, somebody decided to file a copyright claim against me on that. So, and when they do that on YouTube, there's a link to the video that they're saying you ripped off. So I went, it turns out the person who filed the copyright claim was just somebody else who also had a Mac and used one of the same loops that I did.
But he didn't own that song.
He didn't own that loop.
He didn't own the loop.
But YouTube doesn't care.
But YouTube doesn't, exactly.
The last one I got flagged for was, I'm not kidding, on one of the episodes I went and I got flagged for that.
Oh, no.
I'm like, that doesn't sound anything like John Williams. I'm tone deaf. I'm tone deaf. I'm aware of this. You know?
Did you know your voice is intellectual property now?
Yeah, my voice is now owned by YouTube.
Officially owned by George Lucas.
Yeah. Well, I gave him a lot of Star Wars toys, and now I own Jeff Tucker. So Rob, you know everything about music. Give us some the dirt. Give us some trivia. Tell us something. We'll start with, like, you were just posting some music that you said this poor guy passed away early.
Oh, Kevin Gilbert.
And you said he was one of the greatest unsung heroes of music.
Well, first of all, yes, he is. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention today, and maybe some of your audience would know this, but today is also the 20th anniversary of the passing of Bradley Knoll of Sublime.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
20 years ago today.
Where does the time go?
You know,
and they were on the cusp of huge success.
They were huge, and you mentioned earlier Jelly of the Month Club, which feels former members of Sublime and the Ziggins and a lot of their
let me ask you something. What is it about? Is it is it an ongoing problem that they already have, a pre-existing situation, or is it the thought of we're finally going to make it? Because didn't that happen with Blind Melon and the Lemonheads? You know, and to some extent Nirvana. Like, what happens to these guys?
You know, what's interesting is I'm not. You know, I know a lot of the people that were part of in their camp, so to speak. At the time, I never knew any of the guys from Sublime personally. So I never met Brad Knoll. I met Eric Wilson years later. He's probably one of those guys, even today, he'd probably look over and see my face and like, oh, I know that guy. And I'd be but I'm actually I've become fairly good friends over the years, off and on, with Bud Gaw, the drummer. Bert from the Ziggins, who is also part of Jelly of the Month Club, he and I produced a side project that Bud was doing with his wife, a band called Del Mar, and we produced the CD and became very close with Bud, and you know, sweet guy, great guy. You know, I don't really know what it is that makes these people fall. I mean, I think people are writing books and novels, and I don't know that anybody's ever really figured out
what is it. Because you could almost do a case study and bring up John Belushi and Chris Farley and so many talented guys that check out so early. They almost have a death wish.
I often wonder with some of those.
We got heavy quick here.
We did. Gosh, we went from Jelly of the Month.
You brought up Sublime. Was Date Rape 1996 or before?
That was before.
Oh my God!
92, I believe.
92. Yeah. I am old because I remember that song being on the radio.
It's still on the radio.
Yeah.
I know, but like, they got a new song. K-Rock's debuting a new song. It was one of the top 8 at 8, which was the top 5 songs at 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Don't ask why it was 8 at 8.
I got to listen to at the time, one of our techs at Knott's. Well, a couple of our techs at Knott's were in the Ziggins, so they were obviously part of that Sublime camp. And one of them, John Poutney, brought in a cassette one day of. Now get where we're at here. He brings in a cassette.
Right.
He's like, you said that.
The next thing would have been a DAT tape. You know, we hadn't even graduated to MP3s or recordable CDs yet. Brings in a cassette and says, "Hey, I've got this mix of some tracks that the Sublime guys are working on for their new album and they're recording in Texas." And he played the track, and it was the April 2nd, 1992, the song about the LA riots.
Oh, right, okay.
And yeah, I just kind of remember listening to that song, going, "Wow, you know."
That's just so weird. Else, so, what's the other guy you always?
Kevin Gilbert.
Kevin Gilbert,
who ironically died 2 to 3 weeks before Bradley Knoll, same year, 20th anniversary of his passing, and talk about geekdom. He's one of my musical heroes. I saw him perform a couple of times. His first big claim to fame was with a band called Toy Matinee. That there are a few people probably out there in the alternative world and that kind of thing who cringe at the name and just think it was it's like they'd rather listen to REO Speedwagon or something.
Toy Matinee.
They're called Toy Matinee.
Air Supply.
Kind of a progressive rock outfit, but the lyrics. His lyrics were he just had this sort of cynical, dark humor to everything that he wrote that was was the thing that drew you in. It was just very interesting against this kind of backdrop of this kind of slick progressive rock, musical background, and then and he had kind of a rough voice. He didn't have what you would call a pretty voice, so it was there was a little bit of I don't know, a little dichotomy going on.
Say like Bryan Adams, all raspy, or just different?
Just a little different. He could be pitchy. He could be a little squealy at times. It wasn't about making the notes perfect. It wasn't like American Idol or anything like that. Well, right. I mean, he had a great voice, and you know what? Quite a range.
A lot of consumers don't care. Listeners don't care. Right. The biggest complaint I have about American Idol was they would always go, "It was a little pitchy, and I'm like, it sounded fine to me. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I'll be the first to admit I don't know. Well, to me, what I do know is it was okay.
Well, and I'll get back to Kevin Gilbert, but the thing that
somebody just goes, please don't.
Since we're on American Idol, I've always found it a little insulting and disingenuous that the likes of J-Lo or whoever is up there coaching them or judging them will tell them, "Oh, it was pitchy," and then they get up there and schlep their wares on stage.
Oh yeah,
and it's usually to a track or something like that. And the song is something that's
overmodulated, auto-tuned,
and not even a well-crafted song. It's usually something off their new album, and it's like, well, this is the most forgettable thing that I've heard.
But that's what happens. If you've already made it, then you get to coast. The first time they did that, I think it was Paula Abdul got up, and I was like, oh, this is gross.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, she went from sitting in the judges, like, now we have to, she's going to sell us something.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'd be like in the middle of the Carson show, like, he gets up and he goes, friends, I've got a DVD set coming out. Like, Carson would never do that. It'd be very tacky.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But, we're living in the age of tack.
Yeah.
Everything is tacky these days. Nobody has any decorum. Everything is, look at me, look how great I am. And it's what can we zero in for... Can we get everybody to look at something for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Forget Andy Warhol's 15 minutes.
Right.
It's now at 10 seconds.
Nobody has the attention span for 15
Exactly, man. I mean, I tend to, like, I watch movies that last 3 hours, right? But I'll give it to you that sometimes I'll click on a video on YouTube and I'll go, 45 seconds?
They're killing me.
It takes 45 seconds for this guy to fall off his hoverboard. Just do it now, man. And I'm like pushing it ahead just to see him fall. Like, I get that,
Right.
But like right now we're living in the age where that woman put on a Chewbacca mask.
Oh, and it's the biggest thing on the planet.
And I don't, as a Star Wars fan, like, I don't get it.
Right.
I haven't even watched that video.
I didn't watch it, to be honest.
I saw the thumbnail, and I was like, oh, that's funny. And then, like, a minute later, someone else posted, and then someone else, and someone else.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. I still haven't even watched the damn thing.
She has already met... She was on Good Morning America. She was on
the Late Show.
The Late Show.
Did that carpool karaoke
with
J.J. Abrams. Yeah.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah. Because they're all wearing the mask.
Cole showed up and gave her like $1,000 worth of Star Wars crap.
Right.
So yeah, it's very strange. We're living in bizarro land, and even the woman herself is like, I just bought a mask and made a video. And that it's one of those things where it says, there's no formula. Mm-hmm. There's no formula for what hits and what doesn't. Because I've seen a million videos on YouTube that I thought, oh, this is going to go viral. And it doesn't go viral. It just doesn't.
And then somebody, puts hours and hours and hours and hard work into making a video that's actually of quality, and it goes nowhere.
And it gets 13 views. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I've seen it. I've got friends who make comedy videos. Yeah. And I'm always really promoting them because you'll go to the view count, and it's got... like nothing. Yeah. The only video that I've ever had that like I've got videos that have thousands of hits, 50, 60,000. I bought these. There was a time where I had one of those VHS compact where you had to have the adapter to put it in the VHS, and I would buy these little tiny. It wasn't the compact; it was the digital tape. And one time I bought a bag of them at the thrift store because, hey, this is $2 here at the store. They're $12, and I'll get all these. I'll make some more videos. Well, before I recorded over them, I looked at them, and it was a guy walking through an aircraft carrier giving you a tour. Like, it was really cool. So I put it on YouTube. 60,000 hits, right? It's not even mine. Right. And all these questions about being in the service, and I'm like, read the description. It's not me.
Did the guy who owns that footage ever get a hold of it?
Never came forward. And then one time, we made a video with Austin dancing with a giant peep. Like, it wasn't just like, hey, dance with that peep. It was an edited video with dialogue and a plot. And this is before smartphones. I didn't even have a cell phone. I got up the next morning and my inbox had like 100 comments or more.
Oh, gee.
And overnight it had 36,000 hits.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God.
Because it was about Easter and peeps, and people were searching that. And, that's the only time I've ever come close to that, because I don't know the formula. I don't know what makes a viral video.
There isn't a formula.
There isn't one,
There isn't one, and the irony, too, with what you're saying, too, is with people that do produce things that, do have quality. We live in this age where where content. We kind of live in the age of the Emperor's New Clothes, where actual content, where there is a lot of work and a lot of dedication to putting up something that is somebody's vision, if you will. Oh, and somewhere in society that has the same value as, well, look, here's my baby laughing over and over.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the world we live in, because I was just talking to remember Tanya, who used to work at Knott's?
Yes.
I used to talk to her all the time about Facebook, where I don't use Facebook for what it's supposed to be. I just don't. It's not, to me, it's not social. I don't give a crap. I put up funny pictures, and I promote this show. That's what I do.
Right.
But there was a time when it first started, I was like, I'm going to tell people what I think, and people are really going to understand me.
Bad idea.
Well, the thing is, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Tanya has big breasts. So she writes, and she'd agree with me because her father paid for them. But she writes, thinking of having tacos. Thinking of having tacos. 4 words. Right. 100 comments and 500 likes because everybody wants to be involved in her dinner decision.
That's right.
That's unbelievable. Or I look at, and no offense, everybody's trying to make a living. I get it. But like, a girl who puts on a costume at a convention has 80,000 likes.
Right.
And that's a lot of hard work. I totally get it. Not begrudging her at all. I do this thing. I think I have 400 something. I'm just limping along. And there's no sex appeal to this show.
Right.
If this show had sex appeal, I'd get more likes. So if you're listening, I want you to know I am doing the show topless tonight.
That's right.
I want that sex appeal.
That's right.
It's a very sexy
I'm
show.
having trouble containing myself from jumping across.
Thank you. So what's the most overrated band of all time?
Ooh.
Oh, God.
Come on. Rolling Stones?
There are so many.
Careful what you say here. Someone's going to get offended.
Oh, let's offend everybody. Let's offend them all.
Someone will be offended.
I'll tell you right now.
Okay, let me hear yours.
Without hesitation, the most overrated band of all time, in my opinion, is 100% Metallica.
There you go.
Metallica.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yes,
I don't listen to Metallica. I've heard a few of their songs. I know that they sued their fans for Napster.
Yeah.
Like, what a move, guys.
I went through a phase in high school of listening to. I've got all their albums. I know their music, but man, I'm sorry, but their hype is, they're like world known. It's a household name. Everybody knows the name Metallica, but their music is not.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so. Most overrated band of my generation, like somebody that I should
you tell me.
Appreciate,
there's no rules.
Just overrated.
Whatever you think.
Just overrated. Something that when I heard them, I said, I don't like that. And then when I heard them again, I said, I said
Stone Temple Pilots.
No, the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, that's not a band. I said they were the Thompson twins of the '90s. That's what I called them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I did.
I don't know. So you mean actual people that?
But let's talk about. Wait. You
play instruments and kind of.
You brought the Black Eyed Peas. Wait. We have to wait real quick before we move on from the Black Eyed Peas. They're nice people. Mm-hmm. That guy Will.i.am for a while. Remember he was wearing that plastic Bob's Big Boy thing on his head. Remember that?
Right.
He had plastic hair for a while. God bless that guy. Because you know what he does? I don't know if he does it anymore, but at the height of his fame, if he liked your fan letter, he would buy your house and give it to you.
Really?
Because he said... Because remember, we're talking. When were they popular? About 7 or 8 years ago, right at the housing bubble.
Oh, sure.
He said people were being suffocated by their house payments, and that was no way to live. And he would just boom, boom, buy houses and just give them to them. Wow. That's a good guy.
That's a good guy. Now,
and it's not his fault. Wolverine was a terrible movie.
I don't begrudge bands that I don't like of not being good people. Nice people. I mean,
it doesn't make their music any better.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you got to know you reach a certain level of respectability when Richard Cheese covers you.
That's right.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of the songs. I'm a bee, 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 and then you look at it's like 4 people that took to write it.
Right. Well,
actually, and then it's one person that did Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. Freddie Mercury didn't need any help.
No, that is the new trend. That it takes an army of songwriters.
Well, I come from an age. I'm from the '80s, man. Yeah. Sometimes, 99% of the music from the '80s was done by the artist who did it.
Yeah.
I can remember very few examples. Rockwell's. I always feel like somebody's watching me, featuring Michael Jackson.
Right.
Yeah. Dire Straits, Money for Nothing, featuring Sting. Right. But now it's like everything you look at, it's like somebody featuring Akon and featuring somebody from this, and I'm like, why don't they just make a band, man?
Actually, my favorite thing that happens now, and I've done this for certainly for Knots when we've recreated music for shows and that kind of thing, and I'll go in and work up tracks and that kind of thing, and so you wind up kind of deconstructing what
how they did it.
Oh yeah,
right? Sure, yeah, you got to strip it away.
And what is the song? Bang Bang by Jessie J. Big hit. That song is one chord. The entire song is in the key of C. The chord never changed. The melody changes a little bit, but it never changed. And there are an army of writers on that. There's probably about 10 people that wrote that damn song.
People got to get paid, man. And the artists wonder why they never make any money.
Jesse's probably up there on the mic going, bang, bang, line. Into the move. No, into the groove.
Well, they did that in Ford Fairlane. You ever seen Ford Fairlane? Yeah. The guy goes, "I'm gonna get you, girl," and Dice is like, "You're ruining rock and roll." He calls it rock and rape and roll, but that was the early '90s, so you could say that.
And one of my favorite bits like that too was the you'll remember this, the SCTV bit with Rick Moranis playing Michael McDonald.
Oh yeah,
doing Christopher Cross, Ride Like the Wind.
Yeah.
And, Michael McDonald driving to work, getting up in the morning, having coffee to the song is playing underneath the whole clip. Gets in the car, drives, goes to the studio, sits in the lounge. That little bit of the song comes up. He gets up, finally walks up from the mic and goes, "Such a long way to go." And then goes out to the lounge.
Yeah, that's it.
Has a donut.
Yeah. It's like
such a long way to go.
It's like Andy Kaufman only lip syncs to "Here I Come to Save the Day."
Yes.
Right. And the rest of it, he just stands there waiting for his part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that bit.
Well, that's like one day Stern was talking about Bon Jovi and how John Bon Jovi does all the heavy lifting, and then every once in a while, Richie Sambora gets up there and goes, what's the song? It was, and I want it, and then Richie goes, want it, and that's all he does. Dead or alive, So what else? What other bands are overrated? We'll get to the good stuff, but it's more fun to tear people apart. Everybody loves a good roast.
Oh, God, overrated. Let me think.
How about Mr. Mister? You like Mr. Mister?
Believe it or not.
You like Mr. Mister.
I like Guilty Pleasure. Actually, I do know a little bit about Mr. Mister.
Of course you do. You're the music guy.
Of course I do.
What the hell is Kyrie Eleison? What does it even mean? And why is it down the road that I must travel?
Lord have mercy.
That means Lord have mercy?
That's Latin for Lord have mercy.
Is it really?
Yes, Kyrie eleison.
I had no idea.
You learn something every day.
I thought you were doing Jim Ladd.
This is an educational show now.
The lead singer of Mr. Mister is a guy named Richard Page, who had a progressive rock band in the 70s called Pages that were very critically acclaimed and all that, and out of that came Mr. Mister. And they actually do have... I actually like that song quite a bit.
Well, you know what they did, and I know this from, I think, some special or something, was after Broken Wings was might have been the biggest song of that year.
Snacks are here.
Oh, Rachel's here with food.
You guys get to munch now. This is the loud part of the podcast.
So after Broken Wings...
Water.
Cool.
You don't have to label the stuff you're giving. You can just give it.
Everybody now gets to hear us.
She's like Sigourney Weaver on
As they eat
Galaxy
now,
Quest.
Everyone knows, that's what they're having. Look, having a Whopper.
Yeah. Thank you. Crunchy stuff on a podcast. After Broken Wings, the studio gave them a truckload of money to make another album, but it had to sound just like Broken Wings, and they said, we've already done that.
And the album sounds... The album after it, it's called Go On.
Of course you know it.
And
it's totally different, right?
It sounds nothing like it. In fact, the lead-off single was actually the title song for the Edward James Olmos movie, Stand and Deliver.
There you go. Look at that, 1987.
It's very acoustic sounding. And
88.
88, I think.
All right, well, that's cool.
Yeah, so...
He knows everything about music. It's astounding.
Yeah,
it's astounding.
I've never made a penny off of that. I've been starving ever since. Yeah.
You sound like Scrooge.
The moral is,
though music trivia's never put a penny in my pocket, I believe it has served me well. So, what happened to Men Without Hats?
They do that safety
dance. Safety dance. Pop Goes the World.
Have you heard the series on YouTube, the literal videos?
Yeah, though that is really funny. Yeah,
safety dance. That was the funniest.
The one for Total Eclipse of the Heart is my favorite.
When he says, "Now, little man, jump as high as you can." Well, that's not very high. I died. Right
they don't tour. I don't think. A lot of the '80s bands have come out of the woodwork to join these like tours with like 6 bands.
Where they all play at the fair.
And, you don't see Men Without Hats on there. I like that.
And all the men there have hats.
They do, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to them.
What about Men at Work?
Men at Work. Colin Hayes still plays. He's out there.
I love that band.
He's great. He's actually a really good writer, and he's a little more kind of folky and that kind of thing. In fact, I just saw a thing. One of my all-time favorite bands did a Live from Red Rocks special that was on I think Access over the weekend. Bare Naked Ladies. And Colin Hay came out as a special guest and played with them. Yeah.
And why did they name themselves Bare Naked Ladies?
Because it'll get people to come to their show.
Yeah, exactly. Like naming your band Free Beer.
Free Beer, yep. Exactly. Everybody gets laid.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yep.
And they were around quite a few years before One Week. One Week was their breakout hit.
That was their breakout hit. They were huge in Canada.
It doesn't mean anything.
I know. But they were.
I think this show's huge in Canada.
Yes.
I've been dating a girl in Canada. You wouldn't know.
Hey, Jeff, what's this show about?
Yes. It's about in 80 minutes.
That's right. Bare Naked Ladies were their first album. It's called Gordon. Has some great songs.
Gordon.
And it was huge in Canada when it came out. It was so huge.
Are they Canadian?
Yes, they became. They kind of became the Hootie and the Blowfish of Canada.
Oh, that's funny.
Or the Nickelback of Canada
at
that time.
My God.
Where the album was so huge, everybody loved it for about 5 minutes, and then they hated them.
Yeah,
they were despised.
That's unfortunate.
And
like Smash Mouth here.
And then it took them a few years to kind of break that, and what they had to do was come and make it big in America to break that, and that's when One Week came
American
out.
Pie.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing what having your song in a movie will do for you.
Yeah.
You know, if the movie clicks, forget about it, man. It's all you're known for. Right. It's all you're known for. Like, so many bands are so clearly associated with whatever that film is.
Smash Mouth may be the only band that got to use that song 3 or 4 times
but see, that's why we hate them.
Right.
Because they rested on their laurels on Hey Now You're a Friggin' All-Star, which was in Mystery Men. It was the theme song for Mystery Men, and then 2 years later it was the theme song for Shrek, and that same time it was selling Gatorade.
And
that's the ultimate friggin' sellout.
You watch the video for it. Even they're all dressed up like the Mystery Men. It was like it was originally made for Mystery Men.
Yeah.
And they also did a cameo and did that song in Rat Race.
In Rat Race, right? That's the equivalent of.
I loved that movie. Rat Race. That's such a great movie.
Mm-hmm. That's like back in the early '90s when Billy Ray Cyrus was touring. He would do like 2 or 3 songs, and then Achy Breaky Heart, and everybody would love it. He would try to do a few more songs, and people would just leave.
Right.
So he would do Achy Breaky Heart again to get people to come back in. Oh my God!
The Weird Al version, Achy Breaky Song.
Achy Breaky Song.
Don't play that song.
When I worked at Spencer Gifts, they used Achy Breaky Heart as the sales slogan that year.
Oh no!
So they did a meeting where they brought out. This sounds so crazy. They brought out a puppet of a stork, like the Vlasic stork, you know. And he had a guitar, and he's saying, "Don't break the sail. The make or break it sail." It was. I was embarrassed for everybody involved.
Your listeners can't hear it right now, but I'm face palming.
Yeah, the term is douche chills. I have douche chills because of that.
Nice. That would be a great name for a band.
Douche chills.
Douche chills.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the douche chills.
That sounds like a very feminism band.
All right, so here
sorry.
I will. I'll name a song and you tell me what movie it's from. Okay. Or is it easier if I give the movie and you give the song?
Oh, either. Let's see. You'll probably stump me.
Take My Breath Away.
Oh, that's Top Gun. That's
okay. How about it's a bit part of the title, so you can't really do that, right? Like you can't go. You can't go. That thing you do.
That thing.
That's right. That's right. That was Was that Schindler's List?
It was Castaway.
Our game has one question.
That's right.
Because I didn't prepare. I never do.
Let me turn that one on you.
Yeah.
Because there's a few trick ones that everybody knows, but then when you say the title, they go, I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, that's like Drift Away.
Yeah.
People have no idea Dobie Gray Drift Away until you sing the song. You have to get to the chorus even.
Right.
So I think that's funny.
Dobie Gray, wasn't that the Dobie brothers or something?
Yeah, wasn't he the best friend on...
Yeah. Dobie Gillis?
Yeah, Dobie Gillis.
Wasn't he Gilligan?
Yeah.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Suicide is Painless.
Oh, that's MASH. Yeah, it's the theme song to MASH, yeah.
That's right.
That's why I can't watch MASH.
Such
a depressing song.
MASH is not filmed before a live studio audience.
That's right.
All right, so we did the bad. What's good? Like what's underrated? What do you listen to that nobody else? Well, you're a big Beatles fan, right?
Oh yeah.
Don't you have a massive Beatles collection?
Pretty big.
You have the Butcher cover.
I have the Butcher
Explain what the Butcher cover is to people,
for those not in the know.
Because it'll make people Google it because it's really badass.
Well, if you're a Beatles fan. If you're any self-respecting Beatles fan, you absolutely know what the Butcher cover is. They did a photo shoot sometime in the 60s where some music critic had told them, and the photo shoot was we're gonna kind of do our own little, we're gonna skewer this music critic who accused them of butchering pop music. So they took a photo of them all wearing these butcher smocks. White kind of,
like overalls.
White overalls with a black shirt under it, black turtleneck shirt, and bloodied, holding meat cleavers with a combination of baby.
I was gonna say it wasn't meat parts; it's babies.
There actually was some meat parts in there, but then there were these dolls. These dolls that they had taken the heads and arms off of, and
the worst idea ever.
They were all over, and there they are with these big smiles, and that became known as the Butcher cover. Well, they released it in America. The album was called Yesterday and Today. It was like a compilation album of previously released material. And once the label kind of really realized what they had done, they said, get them all back, and try to do this massive recall. And what happened in a nutshell was, of course, there are copies of it that are still out there.
Three types of copies, right?
Technically, there's 6.
Yeah, of course.
And the only thing that makes them, the difference between the 3 and the 6 is whether it was a mono or stereo version of the album.
Okay.
They have what you call your first state, which is One of the ones that escaped the recall and somebody got it.
Somebody bought it first day out. And it has the butcher cover.
And it has the butcher cover.
Yeah.
Is that the one you have?
That's not the one I have. That's actually, if you see them, and the prices have gone wildly all over the map over the years. About, I don't know, 10, 20 years, more like 15, 20 years ago, you would see them out there for literally in the thousands of dollars, a couple $1,000s. And I think there's even some that have sold for, upward of $15,000, $20,000.
$15,000.
Yeah.
Based on condition.
Based on condition.
Yeah.
All based on condition.
Yeah.
The second, what they call a second state butcher cover, what happened was the label said, okay, now we have all these albums back. What do we do with them? We're going to lose our shirts just throwing them in the trash.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got this great idea. And if anybody that's seen an album from the 60s, the cover is what they call a slick. So it's not just one big molded piece of printed stock over the cardboard cover. It's a flat slick that was just glued over the top. So they took a new photo, which is one of them sitting in I think Paul is sitting inside of a suitcase, and they're all kind of standing around, and they put that on the cover.
They put it over the top.
They put it over the top.
It's over the top of the butcher cover.
The only problem was you can sort of see, because the background on the second state is all in white.
Oh, no.
So what you can see underneath is they were wearing the white smocks with the black shirts. So you see these big black kind of triangle V shapes.
So
makes it even of where their shirt was. You could see them bleeding underneath.
It encourages you to peel it back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can clearly see that it's a butcher cover. So that's your second state. And then the third state are the ones where people have successfully or unsuccessfully pulled it back.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I've got a third state, I think, stereo version with minor tears. Somebody didn't do a perfect job. I mean, people got down to a science as to how you pulled this slick off of there. They would, oh my gosh, they would steam it, and they would do these different things. And there were some people that actually, I think there were people that were actually going, "Hey, I know how to get the slick off. If you have one of these, I'll do it for you for a fee."
That sounds like a nightmare.
I bet you.
See, this is the closest I have to it. This is a Bill Ripken second base for the Orioles, Baltimore Orioles baseball card, right? I don't collect baseball cards. I collect this card.
This card.
It's from 1988, I think. And they didn't tell him that they were going to go take pictures that day. His bat says F face, clear as day. Wow. And so they did the same thing where they tried to pull him back. They tried to fix.
So look at that.
There's some that there's all kind of variations of trying to get rid of that.
That is fantastic.
Isn't that great?
That's brilliant. So what is this worth on the?
Oh, this is like $12.
Oh, okay.
That's still something more than what you originally paid for.
On a good day, it could go 20, 25 if you get a bidding war. Right. And I love the guy that mailed to me is a little case that says name on knob of bat. And it's not like, no, dude, it says F face, clear as day. Like, could you imagine as a kid getting that and going, oh, it's a Bill Ripken. Oh my God. It'd be the crown jewel. Because there's a Star Wars one like this too.
Oh, there is.
And the rumor is that it's due to a somebody at Topps who was like, here's two stories. The Beatles one, that's the picture they took.
Right.
The Star Wars one is either it's somebody moved the negative or it was a disgruntled Topps employee screwing around. But there's a card of C-3PO in the Falcon in the Orange series. He has a metal appendage.
Uh-oh.
Oh, geez.
Clear as day.
Wow.
There's no question that's what it's supposed to be.
Oh.
But that's quite expensive.
Yeah.
Quite expensive. So.
Wow. How about band album covers?
Like David Byrne. Remember David Byrne had that cover? And it ended up being like just a cartoon dog or something, right?
Yeah.
Jane's Addiction Band the one with the naked women on the sculptures? Remember Jane's Addiction's breakout album with Ben Caught Stealing?
Yeah.
And was Jane Says on that album?
Yeah.
I don't know. But their cover was something
same kind
that had a Hispanic name.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it. What else was bad?
Let me think.
Remember when Prince Love Sexy came out?
Oh, yeah.
People lost their minds because he's naked on the cover.
Right.
He looks like a 13-year-old boy. He's hairless and smooth.
He looks a little like he looks more like an alien.
Yeah,
it looks otherworldly.
Heavily airbrushed is what it was.
Yeah.
Now, when I was a kid, my brother had a lot of records, and I used to stare at them like they were the greatest things ever. I've talked to you about this.
Yeah.
The Hotel California album scared the bejesus out of me because my brother would point out the devil watching from the window.
Right.
I
love the stories surrounding that, and I love the Eagles. Hearing them every time, saying.
Again.
Rolling their eyes and going, really?
Yeah. And the other album that I loved was Captain Fantastic.
Captain Fantastic.
And the
Brown Dirt Cowboy. Elton John actually was, growing up for me, the Beatles were always there, but the Beatles were there when I was born. I mean, Elton John was probably the first thing that I listened to where I said, at 10 years old or whatever, I went, I like that. And I need to go buy the record.
What's interesting is that
suddenly became a fan.
It's interesting to talk to young people today about some of these people, like Elton John, and they go, the Lion King guy.
Right.
And you're like, there was a time when Elton John sold out Dodger Stadium 3 nights in a row.
And my mom wouldn't let me go.
Can you imagine? I mean, you've seen the size of that venue. Sold it out.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any artist today that could sell it out once, much less 3 times.
Right.
Or like Andrew Dice Clay sold out Madison Square Gardens for a week one time.
Right.
Or you talk about Steve Martin, and you're like, you don't understand. He would sell out arenas just to watch him do 30 minutes of stand-up. Mm-hmm. Some of the artists now, people have like... Cyndi Lauper, the Kinky Boots. No. She was massive in her day.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
massive.
The interesting one right now is this Desert Trip show that just this classic rock thing that's
the combined ages are 850.
Yes,
that's the one with the Stones and
the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, Neil Young. Paul McCartney, The Who.
Are you going to that?
Waters.
Are you going to that?
What a lie.
I don't have.
How can you not go to that?
I don't have a house to mortgage to go to that. The tickets are so insanely expensive. I mean,
what happened to tickets? What happened? They didn't used to be that expensive.
The Eagles happened to tickets. Actually, that whole thing when. A lot of people blame the Eagles for that.
For their reunion tour.
The reunion tour.
The Hell Freezes Over tour.
And I did go to that tour.
Yeah.
And at the time, everybody was going, $75 for tickets? God, tickets used to only cost $25 or $35.
Who is it? Joe Walsh?
Yeah.
Was on Stern one time before the reunion, and he did Desperado on the guitar.
Tell me about this.
Joe Walsh, Desperado! And at the end, he goes... just so you know, what's his name?
Don Henley.
Don Henley. He goes, Don Henley's, that's going to set the reunion back 5 years. He goes, he hates anybody doing that song but him. So, what's with the Eagles, man? I get it, like, what's with bands in general? Do you have any insight, like, how can you strive to be a success and then hit that success and make so much money and then you don't get along with the guys? And it's like, look, this is a great ride, but I'm going to stop it because I can't stand to... Like, how many... the biggest one is ABBA.
Right.
ABBA was offered $1 billion to tour.
Right.
And they said, no, we're good. They hate each other so much.
That they would turn down $1 billion.
Same with... Didn't Tears for Fears break up? And they hate each other. They asked one guy, like, I don't know their names. What do you think of the other guy? Can you say something nice about him? And he goes, well, he makes a fine cup of tea. Like, that's it.
Right.
Didn't Oasis break up? And they're freaking brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers, and they would
can't
kill
each
other. Right.
Isn't that fascinating?
Well, a few years ago, I was working as a local crew stagehand. I was going around all the arena venues over here and setting up the stage for the bands that played and everything. And at the Honda Center... Paramore came to play a show, and I actually got to meet real quick, meet the band and everything. But then I heard they were halfway through their tour and actually had to cancel the rest of the tour and stop their tour and go home. This was the last show on their tour because they weren't selling enough tickets and making enough money to continue their tour. We're talking about the Honda Center they're playing at, and they weren't. And this is Paramore.
What the heck? It's a big band. Paramore was big because of Twilight.
Because of Twilight, exactly. Yeah. But they had to stop their tour and go home because they couldn't afford to keep going.
And yet Evanescence can't get in the studio to make. I mean, we're talking about the biggest band in the early 2000s. Can't get it together.
Right.
You know what happened to Limp Bizkit?
Oh my God!
What happened to Fred Durst? Is he still? Is he alive?
If they're living up to their name. Their biscuits are officially limp.
What happened to I just throw bands at Rob like he knows, you know. What about the Rembrandts? Where are they?
The Rembrandts.
Where were we?
How collecting residual checks every time Friends airs.
They did the theme song to Friends. You ever listen to a band and wonder why they didn't click? Because a lot of I'm not going to say it's easy to do a big hit, but it's easier to do a one-hit wonder thing than it is to do a string.
I've listened to bands and wondered why they did click.
Well, sure, that's we all have that, man.
You know,
we've all heard something on the radio like, "How is this a thing?
Right.
This is terrible.
This is terrible.
Oh my God, my ears are bleeding."
I think there are bands that
the first time I tuned in, this is '96, summer '96. The first time I tuned in to the Macarena on the radio, I thought it was a joke. The first time I heard
make it stop.
The first time I saw the video for "If You Want to Be My Lover," I thought it was like a parody. I thought the Energizer Bunny was going to go by and like, "Still going." I swear to God, I am not the music guy. If somebody were to give me like 3 bands and go, "One of these bands will make $1 billion over the next year if you can pick the right one," I have no idea. I would pick Right Said Fred. Like, I don't know. You know, I'm too sexy for my cat. Huge band.
Yeah.
How about Terrence Trent D'Arby? Where's he at?
Skid Row? I don't know. Skid Row, where are they at? Skid Row.
No, they still play, don't they?
Do they?
Doesn't he in LA Guns? Is that a band? That's a band, right? I'm so band illiterate.
I kind of, when I was in high school, the bands that were coming up were, late 70s, early 80s. You were either into punk rock or you were into heavy metal. And heavy metal hadn't quite graduated into that we wear spandex and look as pretty as the girls stage yet. There was still a little bit of testosterone, I guess, going. So you were either something of a metalhead, or you were punk rock.
What was like Judas Priest? They were wearing leather and spikes.
Absolutely.
They weren't going to be wearing
the Scorpions.
My brother was the manager of Stryper for like 6 weeks. Stryper, the Christian rock band. So, okay, speaking of punk rock, you and I share a love for a band. I love the Dead
Milkmen.
Absolutely.
Stuart, I like you.
You're not like the other folks here in the trailer park. Don't get me wrong. They're good, fine people. They're good Americans. It wasn't Punk Rock Girl, because Punk Rock Girl came later.
Right.
I actually got into them with Big Lizard in My Backyard, which was one of those albums that was great because for teenagers that didn't have any money, Big Lizard in My Backyard has like 50 songs for the price of an album that has like 12, you know? That was really cool. Same thing with Louder Than Bombs. You got all these Smith songs for the same price as 12. So we were very frugal. We had no money. But God bless my mom. She actually let me go to a Dead Milkmen concert.
Oh, my God.
I saw them at the Roxy.
Oh, jeez.
And she I don't think she quite knew that it was a punk band.
Oh, no.
I mean, because I was a nerd. What was I doing? Because my prior concert experience was Huey Lewis and the News. You know, and Bruce Hornsby in the Range.
Oh my!
Listen to the Man a Little Rain. So I go to the Dead Milkmen concert, and of course the opening band's terrible. They lucky they got out with their lives. It was some band called Christmas or something, right?
That's a great name.
Christmas, right? Yeah. Christmas is gonna come. Is Christmas over? But then the band starts, and of course they start moshing. They're moshing like punks with those back flaps on their jackets, you know, and they're doing that thing like in the picture, and the lead singer pulled me on the stage because I was going to get killed. Oh, wow. So I actually watched the show sitting as small as I could on the apron of the stage while what's his name? Rodney Amadeus.
Yes.
Rodney Anonymous
yes.
and Dean Clean,
yes.
who does Punk Rock Girl,
right.
went back and forth, and it was just like the greatest moment ever. Like, he's singing right here to me. It was great, And the best moment of the concert was there's a song called "The World Is S." The world is S. He didn't say S, but he got up and he goes, "If you don't know the words to this song, you have to leave because this is our anthem," or something like that. It was great. Good times, man. What's the best concert you ever been to?
Oh, jeez. Well, let me go back to the Dead Milkmen.
Yeah,
I've never seen them live, but
are they even together anymore?
No, I don't think
that's
so.
the problem with all of our bands.
Yeah.
They're out.
But
we can't get U2 on a helicopter. Thank you, Dennis Leary.
One of my favorite all-time songs, and the first time I heard it, I didn't know it was a Dead Milkmen song. A song called "Dollar Signs in Her Eyes." For a band that was so out there, to write something like Stewart.
Yeah.
Lyrically, very profound song. And
was it on Metaphysical Graffiti?
Yes.
Yeah, because that was their album after Beelzebubba that nobody liked because it was not their sound.
And somewhere, and hopefully you won't get shut down from YouTube, I'll find it, and if you want to tag it in here.
I just don't put it on YouTube. I put it on the other stuff.
I did a version of it. Here, interesting story. So I along with some of the stuff that I have produced over the years, I've produced this band, the Ziggins. I've done a couple of things with them, and Bert,
Astronaut Love Triangle.
I remember that
Bert Szanka. So Bert is the lead singer of the Ziggins, and he and I have done a few solo projects. And I had heard a recording of Bert doing an acoustic guitar version of "Dollar Signs in Her Eyes," and I thought it was one of Bert's songs. And I approached him and I'm like, "God, that's the greatest things you've ever written."
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, it's not me. It's the Dead Milkmen."
You're like, "What? Really?" Yeah.
And so he and I, the first thing that we did of his as a solo thing that he wanted to do, and Bert's really one of those guys who he's a singer. He's a troubadour. He'll sing and play an acoustic guitar, and that's how he writes his songs. He doesn't put a lot of thought into how it's going to sound in the big picture with the band or any of that kind of thing. So that becomes my job with him.
Yeah.
Which is I
got a Ziggins cassette one time at a thrift store and listened to it.
And he and I, I wanted him to kind of re-examine a bunch of songs that he had done like that, where there were versions floating around of him, just kind of to an acoustic guitar in a room full of people, and like, let's flush some of these out. Some of these are really good songs, and that was one of the songs I wanted. So I actually worked up an entire demo to that song.
Nice.
And somewhere on it, I'm singing the version of it, going, "What do you think of this, Bert?" And he's going, "Oh, that's great, but that's not my song." so somewhere I've got a version that I did of "Dollar Signs in Her Eyes."
There's a song on, it's either Beelzebubba or Big Lizard, or maybe it's Eat Your Paisley. It's a guy on a roller coaster. Do you know this song? Mm-hmm. And the attendant didn't lock his restraint in.
Oh, that's Stewart. That's from Stewart, isn't it?
No, it's a whole song about. It's a melodic song about how
it's a repeat.
Yeah, the loop is coming up, and he's just talking about how it's over in a few minutes, and it's a crazy song. Yeah, no, it's not Stewart.
Yeah,
because Stewart's more of a rap.
Right.
He's more of a diatribe. Yeah. But
Bill Jr. Remember my son Bill Jr.? Well, he was on a ride called the Mixer.
Yeah.
The attendant said, "Keep your hands and arms inside the mixer at all times."
He was
a daredevil, sticking his head out, going, "Look at me! Pow! He was decapitated.
And then they have the song. You ever heard "Bitchin' Camaro"?
Oh yeah.
And the song has nothing. They riff for like 2 minutes about. Oh, he goes. My parents just got back from the Bahamas. You're kidding. He goes, yeah, they drove up. Oh, you're kidding. I must be. The Bahamas are islands, man. But that's not the point. The point is, you have to ask me what kind of car I got. Oh, what kind of car do you have? Funny you should ask. I got a bitchin' Camaro. It's fun, and it wasn't like, because I had also got into the Sex Pistols for a while because I'd watched Sid and Nancy and like wanted to know like what is that band,
right?
And I loved some of the Sex Pistols, but a lot of punk rock to me, I I wasn't an angry teen.
Right.
So I didn't want to listen to that's why I never got into heavy metal, because I've always said on the show, it was just too rage for me, and I was never that guy.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that the music's bad, it just didn't fit my lifestyle.
Right.
It just didn't fit.
Punk rock was initially in high school. I was kind of the same way with punk rock. I didn't warm up to it till much later, and I can tell you exactly why. I during school, I was not I really didn't belong to any kind of clique or any of that kind of thing. And by the time punk rock in California had reached the suburbs, it was really a fashion trend. It was more about a bunch of surfer kids,
Yeah.
It's getting their head shaved, and it was more of a fashion statement than anything.
It's interesting.
It had morphed from what its real roots were. In fact, I was listening to a thing on NPR. They were interviewing John Doe and X Scene from X, and they were talking about how it kind of changed. And like when they would play shows, this idea of a mosh pit, it wasn't these people that were bashing into each other trying to physically hurt them. It was a little more about, we're the band and you're part of the band. Come up on stage with us. We'll come out to the house. And it was just this kind of mixing of bodies and all that everybody was part of the show. It wasn't so much about this, aggression, And they were even talking about how later, in their careers, they're going, what has this turned into?
It's interesting to watch Sid and Nancy and see Malcolm McLaren portrayed as a guy trying to make this thing a thing.
Right.
There's one of my favorite scenes is he rents a boat and they all go out on the boat for the sole purpose of getting arrested. Mm-hmm. He wants them to get arrested so they'll be in the paper. And he finds out that Sid or Johnny is vomiting in the bathroom. And he goes, no. Why can't he puke over the side? We need an explosion here. And he's just like, oh, this is calculated.
Right.
He's reaching out to the disenfranchised youth and try to give them something that they can latch onto.
Right.
But he can't give it to them unless they find out about it.
Right.
And I just like that movie because, forget the Sid and Nancy tragic love story part, watching how they portray McLaren creating a genre of music. I mean, that's crazy. It's got to be the same way. I didn't see Straight Outta Compton, but it's got to be like we're trying to create something and break new ground here. I find all that stuff fascinating.
And I'm way backtracking here, but recommended listening for anybody music that I can recommend is an album, and I've shared it with you. It's another Kevin Gilbert thing. It's called The Shaming of the True, and it's slightly autobiographical. Well, more than slightly autobiographical. It's a rock opera that he created, and it was basically about his experience in the music industry and how he thought he was starting off as an artist and trying to create his own voice, and how the sort of the machinery of the business tried to make it something else, tried to mold this image of something that he wasn't, and that was the whole kind of battle of like, well, I'm not being myself here, and that's what my art really is. And it was all, and it was a fictional character that he used in it, but it was musically it's a great album. And didn't
Pinball Wizard come out as an FU to one of the guys at the record label who played pinball all the time?
I haven't heard that story.
The anecdote might be fantastic if that's accurate.
The anecdote I heard was he wanted something else on the album that was more accessible. So they hated him because he played pinball all the time. So they went back and they wrote Pinball Wizard as an FU to this guy. And of course, it's a big hit.
Right.
And I just like stories like that because it just goes to show you that there's no formula, there's no roadmap. The most unassuming track on the album, and I go back to one of my favorite bands is Train. Mm-hmm. When they were getting ready to release their breakthrough album, they didn't have a hit single. Meet Virginia was the closest they had to it. Right. And the guy from the record label goes, "Look, it's a good album, but we need a song." And overnight, Pat Monahan writes "Drops of Jupiter." And he just he just goes, he said, I didn't think about it being a hit. I just wanted to write something that meant something to me. And if people liked it, that's fine too. And to me, it's a masterpiece. masterpiece song.
Let me tell you something about your masterpiece song with that. And this is a very geeky, nerdy thing.
We revel in that here.
As I mentioned earlier, Elton John was one of my very first musical heroes. And I particularly, to this day, just like the Beatles, I can put on the first, 8 or 9 Elton John records and just listen to them back to back.
Sure.
And be in bliss.
Oh, he's incredibly good music.
The album Madman Across the Water is one of my all-time favorites. The guy who used to do his orchestrations, do all those big string arrangements, Tiny Dancer and Leave On and all those songs, there's just this huge, beautiful, lush orchestra that's doing these great counter melodies over his vocal. And his name is Paul Buckmaster, this arranger.
That is a fantastic name.
He is one of those guys, like a John Williams, where it's a little hard to say you can put a stamp on an orchestra. You always hear of guitar players or drummers, and you go, I know who that player is. But they're bringing something where they're expressing it through their instrument. Mm-hmm. This is a guy taking a room full of people and expressing his music through other people playing it, how he writes and arranges and voices those string arrangements. And it has a stamp that is just like John Williams.
I agree with that, because I can watch a movie and listen to the score and tell you who did it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you just know styles.
So the first time I heard Drops of Jupiter, I said, that is a Paul Buckmaster arrangement. That has to be Paul Buckmaster.
You are a nerd.
I am. And anybody that I would say that to, of course, would say, like, Paul who? What are you?
Yeah.
And I'd say, listen to
listen
to Tiny Dancer. Listen to these. If you're a fan of early Elton John records, listen to it. Now listen to this song and tell me that's not the same.
Yeah. What's the best Elton John song?
Ooh.
I have a favorite.
I have several favorites.
Yeah. My favorite is Your Song.
Ooh.
I just like the lyrics of it. I like the romanticism of the Potion Show line. I think it's really, really well done. I like the way it was used in Moulin Rouge, which helps a song if it has a high profile like that. There's something about that song that's just really romantic.
I completely agree.
You know what I mean? It's just a sweet
tears.
Yeah, like very few songs are. I'm gonna take my heart out and put it on the table for you, and that one does that for me.
Two of my favorite Elton John songs are used in the same movie.
Almost Famous. Gotta be brilliant film.
Tiny
Dancer. Have you heard the behind the scenes of that? There's about 50 takes of that.
Oh, really?
The actors wanted to kill him, but Cameron Crowe said it's not good till it looks like you're doing it as a family together.
Right.
You're not acting. This has to be real, and it took like the 50 or 51st take to get that. What else?
And then lyrically, and it's also used in the movie Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. Brilliant song. Lyrically brilliant.
See, I love Tiny Dancer. That's a great song. But every single time I hear it, every time I even hear the name Tiny Dancer, all I can think of is Michael Scott in The Office. You just won a Tiny Dundee. That's every time.
You have won a tiny Dundee.
Yeah. Sing it, Elton. Oh, yeah. Every time.
And then the thing with Elton John, too, is, just like any artist, there were, he did kind of break out of, a mold. Each album, those early albums,
he reinvented himself like Bowie.
Absolutely.
What's the best Bowie song?
Oh God, that's same deal. There's such a body of work.
Nirvana covered them. I know a lot of people that when they find out
Man Who Sold the World,
was originally Bowie.
Life on Mars is pretty brilliant.
Yeah,
I love Life on
Austin
Mars.
is a massive Bowie fan. That's all we listen to.
And probably the first thing I ever remember by Bowie is Space Oddity, of course.
Yeah.
As is everybody. I also loved
Ziggy
Time.
Stardust.
No, I love Time, which is off of Aladdin Sing.
Okay,
great song.
Yeah. See, I like Labyrinth.
Oh my goodness, Labyrinth.
He's just so. I've done an episode on Labyrinth. I didn't really delve into like the full Labyrinth experience, but for a movie that bombed, I saw it opening day and was like, "This is a masterpiece."
I mean, it may have bombed, but it's got a cult.
Oh yeah,
now.
oh yeah. It takes a while for movies to really do that.
For as big a fan as your kids are of Bowie, have they ever seen that Flight of the Conchords episode?
It's just funny. You're the second person in 2 days to mention that. It's hard to get them to sit down and watch something.
Yeah.
It has to be special. Like right now, we're watching Wes Anderson films. I think I told you.
Okay.
And they'll sit for that. I have to sell it right. If I just go, "Hey, come watch this," they're like, "I'm online with my friends and I don't want to be bothered." And yeah.
How can they not watch? How can they not love The Life Aquatic with all the Bowie stuff?
We just watched it. We just watched Life Aquatic, and it was funny because I turn to Austin every time because he sings in Portuguese, and I said, "Which one is that?" And he's like, "Oh, this is Life on Mars." Or,
right.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah. That's great movie.
Yeah,
great movies. What else? Who else is seminal? And what do you dig?
In my
Eagles, Bowie. Are you a Stones guy?
You know what? I like the Stones. I like a certain period of the Stones.
Yeah.
Which was mostly their late '60s, just before Brian Jones died, and then through their kind of mid to late '70s stuff. A lot of the stuff where they were kind of getting a little more R&B and.
Do you feel bad for Phil Collins?
Do I?
Because Phil Collins tried to go the Elton John route by doing Disney music for Tarzan and Brother Bear, and it just didn't click. I hate to say you go up to some kid and sing "Circle of Life," they know every word, but you go sing something from Strangers Like Me, and they go, "No,
not working."
That movie didn't do as well as Lion King did either.
Nothing did as well as Lion King.
I'm a big Genesis fan. The earlier stuff, the stuff even with Peter Gabriel, predates that. But
what was that Genesis video with the spitting image puppets?
Oh, Land of Confusion.
Land of Confusion, right? Remember, because I was a big MTV guy. I watched all day. That video would make you stop and go, "What the hell am I looking?" Especially the Ronald Reagan puppet at the end coming out of the water.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so disturbing.
That's the one Genesis song that everybody knows. It's even in the world of heavy metal, because the band, one of my favorite bands, Disturbed, they did a cover of it that's really,
Of Land of Confusion? Oh, that's a good song to do a cover of, yeah.
And so,
it's probably better.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because
I don't know.
They're Disturbed, their big one right now is their cover of
Sound of Silence.
Sound of Silence.
Okay. Because even Tears for Fears admitted that the cover version of Mad World is better than the original.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, because the cover is it's slow and
it's scary.
But the original is almost goofy.
Yeah.
It's is this really
world.
I couldn't even believe
this world's mad.
I heard the cover version first, and then I heard the original. And wait, this isn't even the same song.
Wait a minute.
Wait, what?
Now that's
they wrote this crap.
That actually has to suck to be a one-hit wonder with somebody's cover song. You covering someone else's song.
It happens.
I mean, they also had they had Shout, which Disturbed again also did.
Oh yeah,
in their first album.
What's his name? Tainted Love.
Soft
Cell.
Yeah,
their biggest hit was a cover.
Right.
This just happens. That's the way it goes.
And you were talking earlier about recognizing that Buckmaster guy.
Oh, Bob Buckmaster, yeah.
That's not really that bad of a thing to recognize, because I had the same experience. Disturbed was one of my first bands that I got into, and I was there when they were coming around, and they went for 10 years, and then they took an open-ended break, and everyone thought they were done, and then so I'm driving around listening to the radio last year. And I never listened to the radio. And this one day, my phone was dead, so I turned on the radio and I hear this song, and there's no words or anything yet. I'm just hearing the guitar and the drums, and all. I'm like, that sounds distinctly like Dan Donegan on guitar. Does he have a new project I don't know about? What is going on? And then all of a sudden, the singing
voice
comes
up.
Wait a second. Hold up here. This is clear. So I turned the music up. Is this really what I think it is? And then the song ends, and the guy comes on. He's like, "That's the new one by Disturbed." I stopped my car. What? What? They didn't have a new album. I didn't even know. It's a big. I was blown away because they were coming back, and I had no idea. Oh. And so now all of a sudden they're out, and they got this new album, and it's
We used we used a couple of songs for. the Elvira show at Knott's. For
Down with the Sickness, the dubstep version. Everybody uses that.
Yeah, we use something else though. We
I don't know Disturbed, so you got me.
I know, but
I'm music illiterate. That's why you're on the show.
I went to the I think the Asylum, the Elvira show that was there last year.
That's right.
Yeah, and that song came on. It was Disturbed's Down with the Sickness, but it was like a dubstep remix of it. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that came on, I was like, I know this song because I've heard this exact version of it in a million other places already. I was like, oh, cool, that's cool.
I listened to some music today. Dubstep reminded me of that, and I just go, this is just a series of sounds put together.
Yes.
It's not music. It doesn't classify as music. It classifies as like somebody strung together a series of noises and decided to. I don't understand. I'm old. I always admit it. I'm old. I like music that has beginning, middle, and end and means something.
I can tell you what I think it is that.
Or even if it's nonsense, I'm okay with it because I used to go around the early '90s singing King Missile's "Detachable Penis."
I love that song.
You know what I mean? I told her to check the medicine cabinet because sometimes I leave it there. But it wasn't there that time, and I said, "Well, if it pops up, give me a call."
My big thing is if it's played by a real musician playing a real instrument, and I've had this debate with people before, and I say that it's not real music because it's not played by a real musician on a real instrument. And people say, "Well, what do you classify as a real instrument?
How do you quantify that?"
Yeah, a computer's a real. Okay, my definition of a real instrument is something that you can pick up and recreate live. I don't care if it's a guitar, a drum set, or a pair of spoons, or a jug with three X's.
Sure.
If you can replicate it live, that counts as a real.
Because remember, the area I come from, Erasure came out. And everybody was vilifying them because what's not real music, it's all synthesizer. That seems quaint now. Like you wish some bands would get a synthesizer.
See, and there's nothing wrong with synthesizer because the guy's actually playing it.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I loved Erasure.
The looper device, like the looper pedals, those count too. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't care what your instrument
Rob used to play the theremin.
That's awesome. But the thing is,
when you say play,
make noise and hope.
I used to make spooky sounds with it, and that's about it.
See, what the thing with dubstep, like I can rant about this for hours. The thing with dubstep is he's not playing anything. I saw a supposed live performance by Skrillex, the biggest, the one everyone knows. Live performance, quote, finger quotes.
Yeah.
And literally all he did, he got up there, picked up the mic, and he said, "I just wrote this song a half hour ago." Play, and stood back and started dancing. Like that's playing back a previously recorded track. That is not.
Listen, dude, we live in an age where people pay top dollar to see Miku.
Right?
And Miku is a hologram. And it's not a hologram of a real person like, oh, Miku died and now it's a hologram. No, it's a fully computer-generated non-entity.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Like, I don't understand. It'd be like going to see Jar Jar Binks in concert. It doesn't exist. It's...
I mean... I would have to say the same thing about
and it has a following. It's massive.
It's like Deadmau5. It's like
I
think,
or the Gorillaz. But I mean, the Gorillaz are back there playing.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Paige Railstone?
No,
it's not a band or anything. Okay, so there's an author who I'm a big fan of, John Green. He had a couple books that were recently turned into movies, but he also has a YouTube channel and a big following on YouTube and all that. And a few years back, he and his brother decided to... Actually, I think it was just him, not his brother. They did an experiment. And they created a fictional person. Her name was Paige Railstone. And they had all of their followers come together and create fictional characteristics for this person. You know, like a backstory, where she worked, what she looked like, how does she dress, all this kind of stuff. And they created a Facebook page for this fictional person that they invented, and then all of a sudden this Facebook page has this huge following, and now there's Wikipedia articles, and there's you could, if you were to look online, it would be like you're looking at a real person who really exists.
That's the world we live in. It doesn't matter what you do, it's how many people are looking at you. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why they sell...
You don't even have to be real, and
they don't have to be real.
Well, what's creepy about that is, I mean, there's enough people that do this kind of alter ego thing, like Garth Brooks. What was the guy? Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines. Yeah. No, he looked absurd.
This isn't. What's surreal about this is that it's not even an alter ego. It's like a conglomeration of like everybody gets to contribute to who this person is and be this little piece of this person.
Right. It's like going to see the concert of the Voltron Lions. You know, they broke up, but they got together, and now they're Voltron again. You know what I mean?
Drum roll.
It's so ridiculous. So let's get to you.
Okay.
So how did you get into showbiz? How did your parents get you into showbiz?
Actually, it was very much the other way around. It was one of those things where like I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I kept like seeing things, seeing movies, seeing TV shows, and I would tell my mom, I think I could be a better whatever this is than that person. 6 months, almost a year went by, and I'm telling her I could do that better than that person. And the movie was 3 Men and a Little Girl. Not
3 Men and a Little Lady.
The sequel one where she's a little girl. And I remember telling my mom, I could play a better little girl than that little girl. And that was the line right there. Like, okay, we're going to do something. So she went, she looked up and she found a minors talent agency, children talent agency that was doing an open casting call. And so we went, and I was one of like 500 kids that auditioned. And then they called back, of that 500, they called back like 100, then 50, then 2. And I was one of the 2 that they decided to then represent. And next thing I know, I'm going out on auditions and I'm doing the whole bit. So it was very much me. You
pushed it. That's great.
And against,
but that's how it has to be.
Yeah,
because if the parent pushes it, the kid don't want nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
You know, we put Josie in some shows at Knott's, and when I brought her in for the filming, I turned to Rob and I said, "Look, I don't know if she can do this or not. I have no idea, but we'll get it in pieces." And luckily, the medium we were using, we can piece it together, and the audience will never have any idea. What the shocking thing was, she nailed every line like she had written it, like it was really happening. So some kids, like you, they just understand. We're playing pretend. I have to look this way, even though I'm talking to that person. All the things that go into becoming an actor.
Sense of mimicry.
Yeah. Imagination.
So, what did you go on a bunch of auditions?
Oh yeah.
What was it like?
I auditioned left and right. I remember when I auditioned for Hook. I ended up like I went at the time. I didn't, being 6 years old, I didn't know the weight of, sitting across the desk from Steven Spielberg.
No, and that's the only way they can get you to do it.
Right.
Because any other age, like 13 and up, you're starstruck. Because at the time, Spielberg's then and arguably still one of the top directors on the planet, if not the top.
Totally. His name commands the respect of Hollywood. Yeah.
Sure.
But at the time, I had no idea what I was dealing with. So when I got the callback audition, I marched into his office. He's got this long table that he's sitting at the front of, sort of like Monty Burns. He's sitting there, and he's got all these people on either side, and I come in from the other side of the room, and I march right all the way along the table, right up to his desk, and I pound on his desk, and I say, "You want to put me in your movie?" And when we got home, there was a message on our answering machine saying that I had gotten the part.
Smithers, put this boy in the film.
I like this child. Yes, sir. That's
I'll tell you this,
that's Tommy Tulak.
I remember his one of your chair moisteners from Sector 70.
That's right.
I remember his waiting room. That was the coolest thing ever because it had these like fancy arcade games that didn't require quarters.
Oh, it's
you
kid's
just
dream.
Go up and press the start button, and you're playing. And that was like the
when I went to the Arcade Expo, I described it like, I think I dreamed this once, and now it exists. None of these games take quarters, and if they're out of credits, you just summon somebody, and they put credits on it for you. Like it's my version of defending your life. I dreamed this. So
now I got to interrupt though.
Go ahead.
There's another thing that you were involved in.
There's a few things.
There's a few things, but you know the one I'm talking about probably.
Which
was that? Was that before Hook?
Which one?
Cheers.
Oh, Cheers. No, that was after Hook. That was after Hook was the first, pretty much the first thing I did. I think the very first thing I did were the music videos.
Right.
They had like Michael Jackson and a bunch of other like big pop stars at the time. They got together to sing these big songs for charity, like "Can You Tell Me Who the Heroes Are" and "We Are the World" and all that stuff. And there's a choir of kids, and I was in the choir. And that was like the first thing I did, and then Hook was the next thing. So everything else that's on my resume came after Hook. So yeah, Cheers. Okay. Cheers was very much.
Hook filmed here or England?
I was only on set here.
They filmed it
at Universal Studios.
Was it Universal?
Yeah.
I thought it was Sony. I could have sworn it was Sony because I know they built the pirate ship full scale. It was one of the biggest indoor sets ever created was the port with the ship. Because when you watch the movie, kids today don't understand.
Yeah.
There's no digital. There's no digital. If it's on the screen, it's either a practical set or a model. See, now it might be a matte painting.
Now we're getting into something that I can rant about for the difference between the green screen room and the motion capture suits for the practical, sets. But yeah, they built that whole thing on a huge soundstage, and the water was only like 3 feet deep, and I broke my toe on that set.
Did you really?
Yeah, because there's the walkway you have to walk to get to the actual boat, and it's like wooden planks because it's supposed to look like Pirate Village.
It's real.
Yeah, and so I'm walking along, I got my foot caught between two of the wooden planks, and I fell and broke my toe.
Oh my gosh! Well, it's weird to describe to people because Hook's one of those movies that if you went to Target today, they probably don't have it.
Actually, I disagree. I've seen it at Target. Walmart's in the $5 bin.
Yeah,
I see it all the time.
But it's not like Star Wars.
I mean, it's E.T. Yeah, you go into like the family adventure section.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
You got to ask for it. But to describe to people in 1991 a film directed by Spielberg, starring Dustin Hoffman, Bob Hoskins, Julia Roberts, Robin freaking Williams as Peter Pan, Gwyneth Paltrow, Maggie Smith, Glenn Close,
David Crosby.
This is
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins as the inspector.
That's right.
This is a massive movie.
Oh yeah.
This and Hollywood had not really done this before. There had never been a push to make sequels to well-known stories.
With all of these reboots that are out there, it may be one of the first kind of pop culture
reimaginings. Yeah. It was written by James V. Hart, who also wrote Bram Stoker's Dracula. So he had a good run right there.
Right.
But it's just a movie with that kind of star power and, let's face it, massive budget. You'd think it would be a perennial on TV every year, like so many movies that get caught up in like Wizard of Oz and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where at the time before home video and everything took over, they would just become perennials. Hook was the studio's tentpole. I mean, unbelievable. I don't even know what Hook cost. I think it cost $90 or $100 million back when movies didn't cost that much.
Yeah. Well, I know that it plays on TV like ABC Family. ABC Family pretty regularly because every time it's on TV, people feel the need to tell me about it. Yeah. So I know it plays pretty regularly.
Yeah. So, any memories of working on that set with so many people like that?
Oh gosh,
I've seen the pictures in Rob's office of you with Robin Williams and you with Steven Spielberg.
Your mom told me. I never went to the set or anything like that, but your mom told me a story that you probably remember or don't.
I may or may not. I was 6 years old at the time. I may or may not remember.
That's understandable.
I'll tell it. You jump in if you remember this, but it was one of those things that it was just one of the greatest moments for her, where it was one of the scenes, near the finale, I guess, of the movie, and. So it's where the ship is and the whole port and virtually everybody that's in the movie is in this scene. Every Lost Boy, every pirate, every imaginable character in the world. And apparently, as they were trying to get this scene, get ready to shoot this and get everybody's attention, I guess you had the. First assistant director screaming on a bullhorn, trying to get everybody to quiet down, and it was just utter chaos apparently. And Steven Spielberg was grabbing the bullhorn and like, everybody shut it, and just getting,
I want everybody to be quiet. We're trying to shoot this movie,
and it just, nobody would, and they were getting kind of pissed, and and Robin Williams is up on the ship somewhere up above everybody apparently, and. Some point after Spielberg has finally just screamed into everybody shut up, one of these things, and everybody kind of sheepishly quiets down. Of course, Steven Spielberg's back is to Robin Williams, who, just as he's getting ready to speak, he gets up, turns around, pulls down his pants, and moons the entire set, which just erupts into laughter that they can't control for like the next 10 minutes.
Sure.
Oh, Robin.
Robin.
I don't remember.
And the clock is running, and the money is funneling out.
My sister said it was probably the funniest thing that she saw.
Out of
that whole
you'd never forget something like that.
Yeah.
Well, depending on your age, because I don't remember that, but that's a great story.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting. I saw Hook in the theater. The thing that I took away from it, and I've not reviewed it on the show. I would have a different opinion now that I have kids. When I was a snotty teenager, I didn't care for the baseball nonsense in the film. I think it's overdone. I think that the whole stealing good form, was it just not Charlie, whatever the kid's name is, trying to take him away from Peter. It's
Jack.
Good form, Jack. It's heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And then the movie there's a weird edit in the film that I simply, from the first time I saw it in the theater to watching it on DVD or Blu-ray not that long ago, when he falls in the water and the mermaids swim up, and then they pull him up and he's like 10 miles down the road at the Lost Boys hideout.
Yeah.
It's
something went missing.
Something's missing.
Yeah.
It's incredibly jarring. And for a director like Spielberg, it means that when they got to the editing bay, they didn't have the shot. Whatever it was, they didn't have it.
There's another one in there.
I hate that shot.
There's a big continuity error that gets pointed out to me more often than you would think. After the baseball game, and Peter is back at the Lost Boy camp, and he's trying to fly. He climbs up on the rock and he jumps down just before the baseball. The baseball comes flying out of the sky and bounces off of his head, and he falls and he lands. And in one shot, you can see that he lands on the grass. In the immediate next shot, he's like 10 feet away from the grass.
Yeah, that's what happens when. See, back then, continuity sometimes bothers me. It depends on how egregious it is.
Yeah.
But back then, the dailies were hard to get. The rushes had to be. They didn't have video playback, so you didn't know till the next day what the shot looked like.
Well, I mean, I think Spielberg has, every time I watch it drives me bananas. He's got one of the biggest continuity flaws on the planet in Jaws. Seriously, okay. There's a scene where Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss go out on the boat to see if they can find this shark. And they come across Ben Johnson, or whatever the character's name is, his boat floating out there in the in the ocean. And, Richard Dreyfuss suits up. Matt Hooper, he suits up, goes down there, and picks the little tooth out of the bite hole in the boat. And then this head pops out.
Yeah.
And it's the big scary moment of the movie. Comes back, he's flustered and whatever. They go to the mirror. Nobody mentions it, there's a boat out there with a guy's head floating around.
You know why? Because that was shot after the movie was locked. Somebody said, you need a scare. The shark's been gone too long. You need a scare here. They filmed that in a pool.
Oh, really?
So it was long. That's why they don't mention it, because when they film it, when they're filming the mayor scene, no one's even thought of that scene yet.
They're going, the little Johnson boy. He's in the shark stomach. It's like, what about the guy?
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss doesn't go. There's a floating head. Yeah, that's movie making for you. So did you get to go to the premiere?
Yeah, I went to the premiere.
That must have been cool.
I went to the rap party.
Yeah.
They had a big pirate ship in the middle of the rap party, and they had all of the Hook video games on arcade.
Oh, nice! I love the Hook pinball, man.
Hook, yeah.
When you hit the multi-ball and it goes bang-a-rang.
I'm on the pinball.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to be on a pinball machine.
And I think there was a Super Nintendo game for it, and I think I'm in the game.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. See, I want to be an action figure. That's always been my dream.
I don't remember if there was an action figure of me. I think there was.
No, the Hook figures were lame.
Yeah.
They were put up by Mattel, which at the time had never done a really good action figure line. They had done Secret Wars and a few lines here and there. They weren't Kenner. Kenner was the king of action figures. Hook, they tried to copy. I mean, after Batman in '89, everybody was Batman.
Yeah.
So the Hook line comes out, and there's like 3 different Hooks, 3 different Peter Pans.
That none of those were in the movie.
None of the movie.
Part of the thing at all. I remember the toy Hook that had like
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. What? I'm sorry, but what?
That's where you make toys. And they had the blonde Lost Boy and a pirate that was supposed to be Bruce Willis.
Oh my god.
Bill Jukes. He's not even in the movie. Apparently it was like when they were planning the toy line, Bruce Willis was supposed to play Bill Jukes. So the figure got made, but there's not in the movie. Glenn Close is the only real pirate named in the movie. And,
right.
And then there's obviously Rufio with his skateboard, which is the most accurate of the figures. There's one of the alligator, which is stupid because the alligator in the movie's friggin' dead.
It might have been dead, but it scared the
crocodile.
Oh, it scared the crap out of
me. Did it really?
Oh yeah, because I have to. There's a part in the movie where it's like on the ground already, and I have to walk through its open mouth, and I was terrified.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I was, because it looked so real and it was so big, and little 6-year-old me. Oh. No.
There's Steven back there. Just go. Just go.
If you watch it, like I stand and I look, I'm like, oh, Hook's gone is the line I say, and then the camera pulls back, and I don't go through for a little bit, and when I go through, I like jump through.
Oh, that's
quick.
great. I'll have to watch it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the figure. He's dead in the movie, but the figure is like, it's got snapping jaws. There was supposed to be another series of Hook figures. There was supposed to be some of them made it out and some of them didn't. There was a boat where you could attach a Lost Boy figure and spin him until he never barfs. I remember.
Never barfs.
He remembers music. I remember action figures. Okay. I'm an idiot. And I think that might have been it. They made Peter's sword.
Yeah, I had the sword.
And it clanked and clinked when you touched things with it, which was a lot of fun. But they were trying to replicate the Prince of Thieves line, because it was the Hook figures look a lot like the Robin and Prince of Thieves lines from the prior summer. Right. The problem is that Kenner put that out using molds from Superpowers and Star Wars, so the outlet of cash was very little. Right. They had a Sherwood Forest playset, which was the Ewok village with leaves on top.
Wow.
They had a Robin Hood battering ram, which was the Ewok village ramming battle wagon, and then all the figures were redone. Friar Tuck was the Gamorrean Gar with a different head, blah blah blah. So Mattel wants to get in the business, but they've got to make all the molds, and they got to get Hoffman to sign off and Robin Williams, because without their signatures, you can't make the toys.
Yeah, right.
The funniest one is Terminator Salvation. You ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Really bad. The McG one.
Yeah.
At the same time that was out, Christian Bale's Batman. Well, there can't be 2 Christian Bale figures.
Yeah,
so if you go buy a John Connor figure from Terminator,
you've got a Bruce Wayne toy.
No, he has goggles and a handkerchief over his mouth.
Wow.
There's no face.
Oh, really?
There's no face.
That's wacky.
It's John Connor in name only. So, but if I'll do some research, because there might have been another line of Hook figures that never made it to market, because they did that with Last Action Hero. Last Action Hero had really cool Schwarzenegger toys, and the second series that never made it to the market were the best. With you ever see that movie? It's terrible. I love it. The animated cat and a few other figures, but yeah, it was cool. So that's fantastic. You're on a pinball machine, man. Yeah. How many people can say they're on a freaking pinball machine?
I don't think very
Certainly
many.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think of, like, other than when Back to the Future airs, there's nothing that people do. Okay, I have one thing. Yeah. I'm on the Star Wars Trivial Pursuit DVD game.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, so funny. When you're playing it, it has all these animations and clips, and then all of a sudden there's me asking you a question. And every once in a while the phone will ring, and they're like, "You just ruined the party, Jeff." I did? Well, yeah, we're trying to play this stupid Star Wars game, and you're in the game. And it's funny, no matter how many people I tell, there's always people that go,
"That suspension of disbelief is just
you're in the game." Yeah, so that's my claim to fame. But yours is much better.
Oh, thank you.
You're in Hook. Well, I want to thank both you guys for coming out. We're at an hour 40, so it's a massive episode.
Wow.
Yikes.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I told you. What did I tell you, Rob? We'll sit down, we'll start talking,
we'll talk
and the
a bunch of
time will
nonsense,
just...
and here we are.
We'll go. Did you ever go to Ablin offices?
I think that's...
Is that where they had the meeting? Because the Ablin offices is like, they have what's left of E.T.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do have...
He's rotting.
You've probably seen it in my office.
You have that great picture.
Well, great picture, but also...
the autograph.
It's like a little... Yeah, it's a little luggage tag. And funny story about it.
Signed by Spielberg.
Signed by Spielberg. It says, with compliments, Steven Spielberg. Your mom got him to autograph it. And it's a luggage tag with the Amblin logo on it. Just a little piece of paper, a little hole punched in it. And I did something. I put it in a file folder somewhere and forgot about it.
Don't tell me you lost it.
No, it resurfaced. But I had.
No, he's got it in a nice shadow box.
Yes, for years I had no idea where that thing was.
See, I have.
He's got
it. I was going through boxes.
You've got it on the wall.
And it reappeared.
You know what? Nice. It's so prominent on the wall that I can't walk off with that without him noticing that I have it. So,
see, I've got autographs from like everybody. I've got the hardbound copy of the original draft of the script.
Oh, that's fantastic!
Robin, autographed by Robin that he gifted to me at the
that's
party.
Great.
And then I've got a shirt with everyone's signature. So I've got all these autographs. But there's one autograph. Okay, so there was one day that we were filming, and they were filming an episode of Full House on another studio in the same lot. And so my people knew that I was a fan, and so they connected so I could go see a show, a taping of that episode, and they arranged it so that after the show I could meet Jodie Sweetin, who at the time I had a massive crush on.
Nice.
And so I got to meet her outside. 10 minutes, and all I could get out was hi because
Sure.
Yeah. So I got an autographed picture from Jodie Sweetin, the middle child.
That's great.
Full House. And I couldn't tell you what happened to it. I have all these other autographs I still have, but
I lost my autographed picture of Michael J. Fox.
Oh. Wow.
And I got it personally from the man when I met him. I have no idea where it's at. I think if I had to guess, that when I moved, Berg somehow snaked it. So
somewhere I had a autograph of Frank Zappa.
Oh,
that went missing.
Yeah,
years ago.
What a bummer.
Yeah, years ago. Yeah. I've got all the other ones I've got.
Yeah, you got a lot of nice autographs on the wall.
Some pretty cool ones.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap this up, folks. I want to thank Rob and Thomas for coming out and being on the show and sharing music memories. And oh my God, the guy's on a pinball machine for a Hook. See, now I played Hook at the Arcade Expo.
Oh yeah.
Now I got to go back to the Arcade Expo and find you on the game.
Yeah,
take a picture.
The lower left corner, I believe.
Oh, that's so. And you know they sell those pieces.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
No.
Oh, I will track one down.
There's a picture of it on my Facebook page where it's you can see me circled in red with an arrow. Like here it is.
I've been trying to the Back to the Future pinball has little plates and stuff. I'd love to get those, but man, they're expensive. Oh my God, they're expensive. But thank you guys for coming on the show. It was fantastic. It was fun. We wrap up the show the same way every time, so you have to help me wrap the show up. Howard Stern, Private Parts, the WNBC.
WNBC.
We say 91 Reasons. So it's the same way.
Okay, all right.
So on behalf of everyone here in Neverland, which is where we are. We're in Neverland. That's great. Just shedding a tear. I'm going to pour some water out for Robin Williams.
Oh, it got serious.
So, I didn't say, real quick, before we go, I always do this on the show, real quick. The other thing missing from Hook, which is not your fault in any way, why would they hire Julia Roberts and not put her in a sexy little dress?
I can tell you.
Why?
They originally had her in a little dress.
Did Walt Disney call up?
No, she refused.
Why?
There was a skimpy little green sequin dress.
Oh, you're joking.
I'm dead serious. This earned her a nickname on the set, Tinker Hell.
Tinker Hell.
Yes, because she had this dress looked just like the Disney character, only it was all sequin and everything. And I was there on set when this happened. She come marching out of her dressing room with 4 security guards following her, storming up to Steven. I refuse. I will, and just going off on how much she refuses to wear this skimpy little Tinkerbell dress. I refuse. She absolutely refused to wear it.
I bet the film would have been a bigger hit if they could have put her in that dress on the art. Because the look of Tinkerbell in the movie's boring. It's drab.
It's the only one that she would actually consent to wearing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea. See what I did? Boom! Right at the end. Right at the end, we got the dirt.
Yeah, there you go.
And did you meet Bob Hoskins?
I met everyone.
Hero,
except for Julia Roberts. I met everyone else.
Nah, I don't care about Julia Roberts. I care about Bob Hoskins. Bob Hoskins. I'm one of my favorite actors of all time.
He's a great guy.
Him and Hoffman are amazing in that.
No.
I just have a magazine from '87, early '88, and it talks about Hook going into production with Michael Jackson as Peter Pan and David Bowie as Hook.
Wow.
With some other director. And of course, the way Hollywood goes, it always gets moved and pushed and this and that and schedules and that. And the movie that you get is not the movie they started out to make.
Yeah.
Directed by Werner Herzog.
So amazing.
With music score by Philip Glass.
An evening with Philip Glass. Just an evening? All right, so the show is live from Neverland. I am Jeff. You are
Thomas.
Rob.
And together today we have been
91 Reasons.
I love that.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?